and welcome to episode 4 of Clean at Work, the journey to level 2 with Sveta.
Hi.
Hi, Sveta.
Hi, Sveta.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. So last week, Sarah did a great job of facilitating the journey to level 1, and she interviewed me and Jackie. And so we thought this week we'd go one step further and talk to you, Sveta, because you're one of only 4 level 2 systemic modeling facilitators in the whole world.
Woo.
So perhaps you could start by just telling us a bit about your journey from that level 1 to level 2 and what that entails.
So when it was actually very sudden. I didn't expect that. In the morning on Sunday, Caitlin called me and said, you know what, I want to tell you something. And Caitlin Walker is our master and the inventor of systemic modeling.
Yeah.
So she called me and said, you know what, I think you got it. And because she told me a couple of months before, she said, no, it's quite far away. I was like, really? So I just it was such a shock that I even just said, I don't have time. I need to, to water my roses and plants. So just like my reaction was very, very strange. So the metaphor for me, the difference between level 1 and level 2 is that in level 1, you know the stuff, like when you pass the driving license, you know the rules. You can drive safely from A to B, maybe with a little bit scratches, but still you know the rules, you know the frame of it. Maybe you're a little bit sweaty, but you can do it.
Yeah.
The level 2 is then, imagine you're driving on the highway and it's winter, it's slippery, it's a lot of idiots in the road, and also in your car, like little children who are screaming, shouting, beat each other, eat cookies, and you're tired, you're hungry, you want to bathroom, and you have to drive them and deliver without killing anybody, including yourself. So the level 2 is about maintaining the state, not only knowing skillfully what to do, but also really a ability to maintain your state in a very, very turbulent situations.
And what advice, given that I've just got my level 1, so I've got some interest in this, what advice would you give to me who's just got their level 1? I've got my driving license, and that's kind of the metaphor I use as well. Or the other one I use is I've just received my black belt in martial arts. And when you get your black belt is when you actually start your journey. So what advice have you got for me right now as I progress and start that route to level 2?
I think the level 2 probably should not be your target, because you would never achieve it. Yeah. The moment I got it, when I gave up and said, basically, I said, honestly, I don't care. For me, what's important, that I truly understand. If I make a mistake, I'm so open to be vulnerable, so that I can discuss it with people and being interested, being curious to myself and to others. And I think the level 2 is not a goal, but what is a symptom kind of, or manifest, that you kind of get into the level where you know your stuff and know the basics. I mean, when I say basics, so well that you can give honest assessment to yourself. And also you're able to, when you do something, when we did systemic modeling in summer, so it was not only important to demonstrate the skills, give a clean feedback and everything, but for instance, if I was saying a couple of times, I'm so tired today, Caitlin told me, what's your intention? Why are you saying this? What do you want? Do you understand that you train the attention of the group, that you're always tired? And from one point of view, normal person would say, but I am tired. I work on my extreme and I feel I have a lot of personal issues. But in that moment you say, so whatever I say to the group, I have to build on wellness of the group. And I have to make myself very small in that moment. And if I can't do that, I just don't go. There were a couple of moments when I really wanted to come on Friday, but I didn't, because I knew I will have a tired face and I can't just sit there as a tourist. I have to be there, even if I don't do anything. I cannot look on the phone and everything. So the advice is just do a lot of practice. Just practice, get a lot of supervision, get a lot of mentoring, and little by little, you will build your muscles.
Yeah. So it's basically the same advice or thoughts that I had to do to get my level 1, because that was kind of the realization there. That you need to stop focusing on the level 1 and actually, okay, well, what outcomes do you want from this work? What difference are you trying to make by learning these skills? Was the thing that broke through, and it sounds like I'm on the right track there. So thank you for that, Sveta. And you talked about practice and doing this. So tell us a bit about how you do integrate this systemic modeling into your work. So you already talked about it's important how you show up. Is there anything else that it's helped with?
I would even say that now it's not about the work. I think what level 2 enables you is when you sit very tired in the evening on Friday on the steps of the restaurant, and when you see there are 5 children started to fight, you know already what happened because you've been watching them for a couple of weekends. You know how it started because you noticed it. And when one of the father just jumps and starts to run, shouting bad words, cursing his child, you take him, you put him back and say, you know what, I'll get it. And you just go and talk to the guys who are 10 and 11 and say, you know what happened? So, and you facilitate really, really casually, because you know that there was a mistake. One guy just made a mistake, and now he thinks that everybody against him, but he just fall because there was a broken wood. And you do it because it's your community, and you don't want this child who is 7 to grow in idea that everybody hates him and his parents is a little bit too young to give that kind of attention. But also, you know that this guy who's gonna beat his son now, like slap him, he's a single father, and the way he speaks with his child is absolutely brutal, and it's bad for him and it's bad for the child. And it doesn't cost too much to you to do that.
Because you've trained your attention, so you've noticed all these things, right?
Yes.
That's what it's about, is the ability to notice different things with people without making judgment, and with just being curious and being able to maintain your own self, so that like you're not upset or wanting to punish anyone. Like the ability to do all those things at the same time.
Yeah, so it's your attention is so trained that you are able to collide them in structure to make sense of it on different levels. And also you figure out if you are too tired, you had too much wine, you can do very little just to stop it, but not too much, because then you will not do the right intervention. But if you speak about the work, I am co-founder of the private educational space environment. We don't want to call it school. It's a little bit like Stansbury and Summerhill. So it's a school where self-directed learning. It's a really, really nice project which grew from 8 families to 50 now, nearly 100 adults and 50 children, which is really amazing accomplishment. In the pandemic, we grew, and we even were able to rent a bigger, huge, beautiful space. And people who work there, they say we would not be able to survive without systemic modeling, because it gives us the clean the language and the simple, clear rules how to be together, how to untighten all the things. And speaking about work, one of the biggest part of my work, I work with teams, with international corporates. So, and it's strategic sessions, it's team sessions, sometimes both, sometimes conflict resolution, sometimes from good to great. So I see that systemic modeling can be applied in so many different applications. Even if you have, for instance, we spoke about Pilates trainer, and my favorite trainer left my studio, and I knew it's going to be a big scandal, you know, a lot of drama and everything. So I was thinking, how can I communicate with all the parts to make sure they are in peace and there is at least no drama, that I can ask what I want. But I wasn't like, I need to establish the safe space for me. I was just more thinking, how can I synchronize and harmonize the story, because it seems to be painful and I actually don't know why.
Yeah.
So I was curious, I was asking, is there anything I need to know? Yeah. And so you become more, I would say you become more kind and more attentive, but kind in a way you're not rescue, but you just understand that people have reactions. Or they might have reactions, or you're so trained to your attention that you've been seeing this person and you already know that this person and this person might be not getting together just because the looks they gave, the little comments.
So people listening to this now and watching us might be thinking, whoa, that sounds like a lot and far away. What are a couple of things that people new to systemic modeling can do just to start getting curious about this stuff?
So one of the use, and I think the best use of systemic modeling is, for instance, meetings. So you can use very simple thing. When the people come into a room, you can ask, what do you need to know before we begin? What would you like to have happen? It sounds like total waste of time. But in fact, what it does, it transfers the ownership from the facilitator, from the manager to others. It gives a signal, we're here to discuss. And if you don't ask question, you're not getting the answer. So you better ask something. And it's also, for instance, you can, if somebody says, for instance, somebody says, we're not effective. And somebody says, what you're saying, we are effective. We cannot be even more effective. So instead of taking sides, they say, what you're saying, of course we're effective, or of course we're not effective. And everybody like, oh. So what you can do, you can say, oh, you think we're not effective and you think we're super effective. Before we move on, let's just check a little bit. So when you say we're effective, what you have seen or heard, or what kind of effective we are. And when you say not effective, what's your evidence, what you have seen or heard, what kind of ineffective or super effective. And then you can ask, how does it sound to you? How does it sound to you? If you repeat a little bit, then people normally say, amazingly, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yes, in that sense, we're effective, but I was talking about different thing. And you say, what I was noticing, every time when I disagree with person, if I ask 2 questions, repeat, let's say I repeat, then ask 2 questions and repeat again, in 90% I would agree with person. It doesn't mean that I will change my position. It means that I would say, I understand what you're talking about. And I agree that it's legitimate to feel that way.
Yeah.
And I think about this way. So how are we going to do together when you think this and I think this? And I even was thinking, what 90% of the posts I disagree on Facebook, if I would have a chance to ask to do the same, I would probably agree with them. So it was an eye opener for me. So that we fight. So you asked me about the simple thing is that
Yep.
when you disagree, before you start to say no, just check, repeat, ask 2 simple questions. What kind of, what have you seen? Inquire, repeat, and when you and still check. Do you still so much disagree?
Okay.
And if
Just
you
take a
learn
breath.
yeah.
Repeat it back. Ask, is there anything else about X, or what kind of X? 2 questions, and then reflect again.
Yeah. And also, I think the beautiful thing about systemic modeling is that if you're not able to listen, you can say it. So, for instance, yesterday my colleague said we had drama, and then I was in drama because I felt judged and dismissed as a human being, and then I stated that they were not able to get curious, and then they went on. And they say, we want you to be curious. And I said, I'm sorry, I cannot be curious because I'm in drama. And the fact, this is what has been said. This is how I understood it. And the effect on me, I am in victim and prosecutor. So, and that at this point, my brain goes in reptilia or mammal, and I'm not able to be curious. However, I know exactly that the message is not that I hate you, you're bad, you're not okay. I'm just taking care of my needs. So I think it also draws a very fine line. Instead of saying, you are bad people, you're not okay, I gave to you so many things, da, da, da. I'm saying my state is not now in collaboration.
So it puts you in a state of like self-awareness so that you know what's going on with yourself, so you can react intentionally or take care of yourself intentionally, right? You're like not diving into things.
You talked about needs a couple of times, actually. You talked about importance of needs and being that people express their needs. Why is that so important, Sveta?
You mean thinking about others' needs or about your needs?
You talked actually about both. So you talked about your own needs there, and then earlier when we're talking about meetings and asking people what they'd like to know before you begin, you talked about needs there, which I guess was other people's needs.
That's a very good question. Let me think a little bit. My first thing which comes in my mind is that the drama happening when we're not getting what we want. So we probably in systemic modeling want, and I think this is a very wonderful thing, is one of the very difficult thing to deal with is a passive aggressive. When I'm not getting what I want, I'm not telling you, and then I will punish you, but you don't know why.
Yeah.
So, and I've been living in that relationship for quite a long time, and sometimes I face it from very dear people. They don't know, and I did a lot of passive aggressive because I thought I'm being nice and I am trying to protect other people from my awful feelings. So I think taking care first of your needs trains you to give other people instructions. Not in a bad way, but in a good way. You can say, in order to be able to fulfill that efficient project, I need this and this and this. So that creates social rules, the social contract. So then we can agree and commit to it. And if it doesn't happen, we can absolutely openly talk about this. You know, I'm not getting what I want now, so I'm feeling in a worse position to fulfill my duties. So it also creates how is a proactive position, and also it's an adult behavior where you know yourself and you attentive to others, and then you start all together create a safe space for collaboration. And when it becomes habit, it becomes just very easy.
I think we see that a lot in teams that I've worked with in the past, where it's been really difficult because people aren't willing to express what they need and want from a situation. And then, like you said, you get this underlying kind of passive aggressiveness and lack of expression. And I like the idea that has to start with yourself, right? And leading by example and being able to express your needs first. And then from that, perhaps that opens others up eventually to do the same.
And it's very funny because teams normally don't like it. They think that it's a waste of time. So this is why you need at level 1 and level 2 the position to be ready that they're gonna kind of reject you. So last week I have a team who hated clean setup. They said it's useless, and then I was really freaking before the session. And then I said, you know what? I'm not going to give them a lot of choice. I'll just say, you have 3 minutes, you go in 4, So, and I thought if they're going to resist, then we will not do it. And they went and they did it beautifully. I was going from room to room and they came with such a meaningful support and resources. So I thought, now they get it. So, but you really need to hold a lot of rejection because it's so unusual when somebody asks you what you want, what do you need to know, that people sometimes start to say you're not okay, you don't know this stuff.
Okay, so I think we're probably coming to the end of our time. So thank you for today's Veta. I really appreciated some really insightful stuff there. For our other listeners, thank you for listening or watching. Please do like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We really appreciate your support and see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.